We're going to look at the IGN Doom preview video. For one, because it's a little shorter, it'll be easier for us to digest. But I do want to give a shout out to another preview video I watched, and I don't want to, trample on their traffic. Inside Games, I love their stuff. And if you don't know, Lawrence is like an OG. He's been around forever, and he's like hardcore into Doom, like crazy. Plays it on nightmare or whatever difficulties. So he's got a lot of specific, like more niche knowledge of the franchise and of some of the stuff they're doing. So I encourage you to go, of course, after the stream or when you decide you've had enough of me, you go and watch this one from Inside Games, because it's really good. It's longer and they go in pretty deep, and he's got a lot more specific knowledge. So I recommend you go check that out, because I think it's very, very good. For me, what I will say at the outset before we look at the previews is just that it's like high school. I love the idea of Doom. For me, the problem is that I get really motion sick in like pretty much just id tech games. I think it's a combination of the movement, the verticality, and then something with like how they do, I don't even know. It's not even like head bob or anything, but there's just something when I try to play Doom, my brain freaks out. I've tried Doom 2016, Doom Eternal, and those two, like from this modern era of Doom, for whatever reason, my brain just can't handle. It just makes me feel nauseous and motion sick. I just can't do it. And it's a bummer, because I really like what I see. I want to play it, but my brain is like, no, you can't. This, however, is not doing it. I don't know why. I don't know. I think it's because it's slower. So I think Doom: The Dark Ages actually is something that I could play, but we'll see. Maybe by the end of this preview video, I'll be like heaving and hoeing. Is that the term? I don't know. And we'll have to end the stream early, or maybe it'll be totally fine. But let's see either way what IGN thought of it.
When I went into my hands-on with Doom: The Dark Ages, I was prepared for intense violence and high-volume heavy metal, but what I didn't count on was such an exhilarating amount of demon-killing variety. By the end of my 2-hour demo, I'd used a saw-toothed shield to slice through demons like it was Beelzebub's Beyblade, stomped around a war-ravaged city as a colossal Mecha Slayer, and even brought a snarling cyber demon to an explosive end by breathing fire directly down its throat with my faithful dragon steed.
Giggity.
Talk about a heartwarming moment. Every aspect of it looked and felt incredible. It may take place in the dark ages of the Doom timeline, but the Slayer's latest Slaughterfest might well represent the peak of the series' modern era. Cue the head-crushing guitar riff.
So this is why I also recommended that you check out that Inside Gaming preview, because that one, like, Lawrence is an OG of Doom, knows it like the back of his hand, and for him, he is much less sold on it. A lot of the previews, don't get me wrong, are overwhelmingly positive. Don't get me wrong. They very much are. But this game seems to represent a market streamlining to some simplification. For example, like Doom Eternal had a lot of mechanics and a lot of combat, like arenas and encounters designed around rewarding like fast movement. Verticality was a major factor. They had certain very high skill-based maybe challenges or bosses with weak points that would require pretty solid aiming. This time around, at least what the previews have seen, it seems that they're going for a much like slower, more methodical layout. They're trying to go with a more carefully laid out narrative, as opposed to just tying everything back into codex entries and stuff like that. It seems to be their attempt to make this game much more approachable to new audiences, or to audiences that previously would see Doom Eternal and just go, that looks like a headache. which there are some people that look at it and are not that excited with the crazy high octane insanity that Doom Eternal and even 2016 were known for. So I actually could see this being like really popular with new players or people like me that get motion sick in those other games that can finally play this. But I could see some like hardcore Doom veterans who played the crap out of those other games maybe being less about this, you know?
Most crucial new change, the shield.
The shield.
While 2016's Doom was focused on run and gun and 2020's Doom Eternal evolved into jump and shoot, the core combat principle of Doom the Dark Ages is to stand and fight. That's not to say I wasn't immediately strafing through the strife as I met each new wave of Satan's soldiers, but the Doomslayer's new shield allowed me to hold my ground and block or parry enemy attacks, and even deflect projectiles back at them whenever I managed to nail the timing.
Even that looks so forgiving though. Like look how far off to the left this thing, it's not even on screen when he does the parry. I don't know what difficulty's on, I'm guessing probably normal, but like it's over here and he's parrying it, which I would have thought that would miss the parry window, but maybe that's only on higher difficulties. It just seems a lot more forgiving.
When it comes to which enemy attacks can be deflected and which can't, it's basically traffic light rules. Red means stop and green means go.
Checks out.
Or for Star Wars fans, red is bad and green is good. The point is, you must constantly stay on the move to weave your way through the red waves of enemy fire, but the moment you see a green burst, you need to dash towards the danger in order to perfectly bat back everything from searing bolts of energy fired by enemy archers to the deadly volleys launched by the hulking hell tanks. It introduces a welcome new test of your timing and positioning on top of the already high-intensity gunplay, which has also been revitalized by an awe-inspiring arsenal that includes a machine gun that crushes skulls and spits out shards of bone, and just might be the most heavy metal weapon ever conceived. But the shield isn't there simply to block and deflect. It can also bear the brunt of a powerful lunging bash that instantly closes the distance between you and your target, and you can even rev up its spinning saw-toothed edge like a chainsaw and hurl it. The shield will pinball through crowds of weaker enemies like the imps, or it...
You know, somebody on social media said that this looks like the like a Captain America game if he went bad and literally went to hell. And actually, now that I've seen it, I can't unsee it. You know what? I think that would be badass. A Captain America game with like a chainsaw shield. I'm in.
Can be lodged straight into the sternums of the beefier imp walkers to stun lock them in place while you mop up the lesser minions around them. The Slayer's shield can also work in tandem with your bulging bag of boomsticks in some incredibly satisfying ways. Come up against a platoon of soldiers marching behind seemingly impenetrable steel shields of their own, just pump a few super shotgun rounds into their metal mobile cover to heat it up until it's visibly molten, before frisbeeing your shield straight at them to ignite the entire group and shower yourself in valuable armor pickups from the resulting explosion. The Dark Ages shield is perhaps the most devastating interpretation of the phrase "the best offense is a good defense," and it makes the new Doom feel like the greatest unofficial Captain America game ever made.
There you go.
Only instead of fighting an army of Nazis, you're battling the most evil villains that hell has to offer, which I suppose are both one and the same. At any rate, no sooner had I settled into the Dark Ages' sensational new shield-wielding combat system than I was suddenly whisked into the cockpit of a massive Mecha Slayer to take on the tallest terrors to ever emerge from a hell portal. These Atlan assault mechs have only been teased in the past couple of Doom games,
dude.
But in the Dark Ages they're finally pilotable, and I was absolutely thrilled to get behind the controls of one of these green-helmed Goliaths in order to raise some hell.
I just love the scale of this stuff, you know? Like you see the regular sized dudes fighting it out on the bridge, and then this guy just walks through. It's just like, whatever.
Or should I say, raise some hell, as I stomped out tiny tanks and crashed through bridges lined with troops, on my way to going toe to towering toe with each Titan demon trying to take me down. Yes, Doom the Dark Ages takes the series' signature ultra-violence and literally elevates it into kaiju-sized carnage. Its Atlan combat is simple in setup but seriously satisfying in execution. as you repeatedly pump the right trigger to unleash combos with a pair of school bus-sized fists. With each successful blow you land filling up a special meter consisting of 2 halves. Fill it halfway and you can deliver a powerful stomp that sends a shockwave through the earth below and opens up cracks of damaging lava that stagger your opponent. Fill it completely and you can deal a devastating finishing move to force Lucifer's Leviathans to go in peace. Or more specifically, in freshly shredded pieces.
Dude, I love the gore system too. I know this makes me sound like a psychopath, but like the fact that it strips the flesh off of their bones when you deal damage repeatedly to one spot, it's just cool. It's just cool. I know, again, it makes me sound like a serial killer, but it's just cool, man.
If you like your 50-story tall fisticuffs with a side order of gargantuan guns, then fear not, because midway through the level a whopper of a weapon drop gave my mech access to a machine gun so large it could use an aeroplane hangar for a holster. Performing perfect dodges on incoming enemy attacks powers up both barrels of this not-so-mini gun, and I was soon blasting gloriously gory chunks of flesh off each Titan's torso that showered onto the soldiers below. You don't normally see this much raining blood without buying a ticket to a Slayer concert and sticking around for the encore.
This guy's just loving his throwaway references. He's loading this video up with them.
Unfortunately, I was only given the smallest taste of these supersized shootouts, since my hands-on quickly switched tracks from Godzilla to Game of Thrones, as I slipped out of the Atlan's cockpit and into the saddle of a cybernetic dragon, complete with twin cannons and a pair of dazzling laser wings. Soaring through the skies above a humongous holy city, I took the fight to a series of Hellcarrier airships, again performing perfect dodges to power up my attacks, to demolish the artillery along their sides and the deadly assault cannons atop their hulls. With each airship's defenses disabled, I was then able to swoop down to its exposed landing zone, leap off my dragon to briefly blast through Hades' hordes on the flight deck, before shield bashing into its central power core and forcing the whole thing to erupt like a hell-spawned Hindenburg, as I flew to safety aboard my scaly skybound steed. Both the Atlan and Cyber Dragon sections proved to be propulsive palate cleansers rich with spectacle, but I was itching for more of that bitchin' shield and shoot 'em up action. Thankfully, the Slayer was soon brought back down to Earth to unleash further terror on terra firma, as my hands-on finished with a taste of one of Doom the Dark Age's sprawling sandbox levels. While the previous gameplay stretches were dynamic but somewhat directed action set pieces, this bumper battlefield level dubbed The Siege gave me the freedom to tackle its objectives in any order and progress through it entirely at my own pace. Thus, in between exhilarating encounters with waves of heavily armoured mancubuses and shield-based slugfests with super heavy cyber demons, I was also able to scour the landscape in all directions for gold to spend on weapon upgrades, collectible toys, and even brand new guns to add to my growing arsenal of demon destroyers. This included the Reaver Chainshot, which delivered powerful charged up attacks that basically allowed me to fire a cannonball to instantly mulch a monster, before attracting it on a chain and firing it again to crush their minion mate beside them. Kind of like a chain chomp, but not nearly as adorable. The expanded map also provided plenty of nooks and crannies to hunt through for health and armor pickups, including melee ammo for the Slayer's new flail and electrified gauntlet attacks.
Sorry. I understand it's like for a charge, but melee ammo breaks my brain. Hearing melee ammo, I'm like, but it's melee, what do you mean?
That's right, as if the Slayer wasn't already badass enough, he now manually reloads his punches like he's Henry Cavill in the bathroom brawl scene from Mission Impossible Fallout.
Another one.
The overall impression I got from the Dark Ages Siege map is that, although it's large in size, it's incredibly dense with breathtaking discoveries and diverse encounters. Some open field fights locked mini-bosses behind a morale meter, keeping them immune to my attacks until I'd hustle to take out a few dozen of their underlings. Other caves I explored featured almost no combat at all, instead challenging me to use my shield for environmental puzzle solving, either as a grappling hook to launch me to otherwise unreachable areas, or a tool to manipulate the controls of a variety of arcane machines. There were wonderful
It's very God of War, is it not? It feels a little God of War. It's very interesting. Again, my understanding from like the streamers I've watched play Doom, and I've seen like their layout. It seems just very, very different. And I'm guessing a lot of people are gonna love it. I think this looks badass. But I think if you like the really high octane, crazy nonstop action of like Doom Eternal, this might not be like your favorite entry, it seems.
wonderful surprises almost everywhere I looked.
Yeah, like 53 saying no combat areas in Doom is stupid. It's like, I think they're trying to take a lot of nods from a lot of other very popular IP out there right now. And those IP are popular, and those types of games and structures of games are popular because people like it. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But I do think some Doom purists might be a little turned off by some of these more pop culture influenced gameplay design decisions.
But also some not so wonderful.
Yeah, you can make it a high octane experience by maxing out with the sliders. That's again why I recommend you go watch that preview from Inside Games Daily, because Lawrence did his preview on the nightmare difficulty. Like, he cranked everything. So he, like, all of their gameplay footage is of the highest difficulty. So you get a feeling for what that looks like, what that feels like when you crank it out. And it's you know, it won't change the areas that have no enemies because they're puzzle areas. Those will still have no enemies because they're puzzle areas. But it will make the individual encounters, I think, more dynamic and engaging. Certainly challenging.
Ones, like this giant tentacle that suddenly emerged from the ground beneath my feet in a swamp area and turned me from unstoppable beast to recently deceased in an instant. With that, my time in the Slayer's combat boots was up, and what a brief but utterly brilliant ride it had been. If this small taste is anything to go by, then I'm pretty sure that the only reason id Software is calling this one Doom the Dark Ages is because the title of The Ultimate Doom was already taken 3 decades ago. From its satisfying shield-based combat shake-up and enticing sandbox-level structures, to its Pacific Rim-rocking skyscraper-sized beatdowns and its dazzling dragon-riding dogfights, the team behind Doom the Dark Ages is seemingly throwing everything but Hell's Kitchen sink into making this the biggest and best campaign seen to date in the seminal shooter series. But it's also set to be the most accessible. If you've ever wanted in on the wanton demon destruction but have previously been too intimidated to try, Doom the Dark Ages looks to have you covered. Not only is there an expanded number of difficulty settings to choose from this time, with 6 different levels of challenge from the exceedingly gentle aspiring Slayer to the absolutely mental Ultra Nightmare, but there are also tools to tweak almost every aspect of the experience. That includes sliders to adjust everything from parry timing windows to the damage dealt from each attack, and the overall speed of the action. Whether you want it to be a friction-free power trip or a synapse-straining punishment, Doom the Dark Ages seems to have the flexibility to allow any level of player to become a god-tier Slayer. What's more, since it's a prequel to the 2016 reboot, you can go in completely fresh even if you have NFI what a BFG is.
Young Rock.
Doom the Dark Ages is set to arrive on PC, PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series XS on May 15th. Until then, if you want a daily dose of Doom, you could just spend a few minutes scrolling through social media.
Every day's just a little.
All of the TV cutaways. So that one, again, overwhelmingly positive, right? And it seems like that is broadly what like 90% of the previews are saying, is that people are just eating it up and loving it. Again, I encourage you to check out, I sound like a broken record, that Inside Games preview, because Lawrence knows his stuff and is able to explain for more veteran players some of the good and the bad. It seems just at the end of the day, this is Doom's attempt to become more accessible, to open up to more players. They of course have scaling, so you can really crank it if you want a higher challenge. They have that. If you want a simpler thing, you can do that. But I do think just in terms of structure, it's not going to play like Doom Eternal. It seems like it's much less arena to arena to arena, and it's more structured, similar to like a God of War, where there's occasional breaks with puzzle rooms, and then you go over here and ooh, there's a secret boss. You got to kind of figure out an environmental puzzle to unlock it. And then there's, you know, a few narrative sequences that play out. So again, like, I don't think that's bad, but I do think it's just gonna be very different if people are hoping to just have that nonstop adrenaline rush. I think you'll get that in the combat sequences, but it seems like they're breaking it up a lot more, which again, I think it probably makes it the most successful Doom, but I do think it's going to, just like, you know, God of War 2018, it lost some of the old school players. It's actually really funny if you ever have like 30 minutes and you just want to kill it doing something stupid. Go look up videos and set the time frame to before 2018, because there were a lot of like gaming YouTubers that were old school God of War fans that were saying the new God of War reboot looks like it's going to be bad. They're losing the soul of the franchise. And then of course it ended up coming out and being like game of the year and doing very, very well. But that's why I think these types of changes and shifts in design, even though they might be small, they do change the feel of it. And I'm here for it. I'm excited for it. But I do think that there's going to be some growing pains, perhaps. You can't please everybody. And if you try to please everybody, you end up with a game that pleases nobody. So I appreciate that it seems consistent. Like, they have a few things they're doing. They have a few core like design pillars that they've built on, and then they're expanding upon that, and they're trying to, you know, focus on those fundamentals. And again, I don't think you can have a preview that's so overwhelmingly positive with these changes unless there's something there, you know, especially if it's just a 2-hour cut of gameplay that's not super broken up. Some previews, you'll play like 20 minutes of this sliver, then they load you to a separate save. You do 30 minutes over there, you do 10 minutes over there, and you're just constantly bouncing around. And that's usually a bit of a like red flag, because you're like, why can't we just play through the game? Like the Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 preview I did in December, they literally just said, play the game. No, here, 7 hours, just play the game, whatever. And it was great, you know, because you can't hide from an extended preview like that. Is there an open world? It seems kind of similar to God of War Ragnarok, where there's open levels. So you get to certain points in the campaign and it opens up and it'll say like destroy 5, like they said, I think 5 gore pillars or whatever. And so you have to go around the open map and find those and destroy them. And while you do that, you might stumble on a puzzle, a new weapon, or this or that. But, you know, fundamentally you are opened up in that moment, and then occasionally they'll bring you back and you go back narrow through a couple of story sequences, then it'll open up again. But I like, this isn't it's, as far as I understand it, this is not like an open world game. He took my thing.